Self, Brian Kent.
Okay, all good.
Okay, so we're at the Complete Streets Advisory Committee special meeting because we had to change the date from tomorrow to today. And we have myself, Brian Kent, Chair, Tom Olson, Patrice Granatowski. Got it. We have a quorum, so let's get started. The first item is communications. I've had some communications relevant to the committee, but I'll see if anyone else has anything first.
I have nothing.
She's on now.
All right, hearing none.
Can I ask a question just to get it on the record?
Of course.
Someone was asking about the opening date for the pump track, if you have any information as to when it's scheduled to open.
I do, and what I'll do is I will save that for my report on the pump track, which is under old business.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, so I've had communications with the Stonington First Select Person, Danielle Chesebro, regarding the issue of installing sharrows and share the road signage on the Stonington side and the Groton side of Mystic. And this was an email exchange that we had, and my report to the first selectman in Stonington was that the Complete Streets Advisory Committee here in Groton was exploring the preparation of a request to our transportation authority for an encroachment permit put together by the town Public Works Department to the Department of Transportation District 2 to allow the town to install the sharrows and related signage on the Groton side of Route 1 and Route 215. And I'll explain exactly where, we talked about that being placed when we get to that item. Danielle, the first selectman, asked for some guidance and indicated that Stonington is very interested in partnering with Groton, or at least coordinating with Groton. Really, we would be almost two separate applications to the DOT for the lane modifications, roadway modifications on each side. So what I offered to her is that if we move forward in Groton, that we can share our material, which would be the map and the description of the project with Stonington, so that they could, if they choose, emulate the process that we're going through, so that we're all on virtually the same page and ideally the same schedule. Okay. Any questions about that? And if we can also talk about this in more detail when we get to the item, but that was the communication that I've had so far. Let's look at the July meeting minutes, and I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Oh, I skipped over whether there were any questions or comments. Do any of you have any? I assume not. Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. So we're getting right into Downtown Mystic Shared Lane Markings proposal. And what I'd like to do is share my screen. Let's see. I can do that. There we go. Oh, I see Lori Hendrickson has joined us. Hello, Lori. She's on through Zoom.
Hi guys, sorry,
Just in time.
Don't want to interrupt.
No worries. Okay. So let's see. Let me reduce this slightly, so at least I can see it. Right. Okay. So everyone should be familiar with the recent resurfacing project that took place on Route 1 and Route 215, and The area highlighted in yellow on this map is, for all practical purposes,
Uh-oh. He's still here.
There you are.
You're back.
I
We
don't know
lost
what
you for a
happened.
minute.
I lost you all. All right.
For all practical purposes is the last thing we heard.
For all practical purposes, I'm gone.
There you-
This the highlighted area is essentially what DOT resurfaced. I've extended it to the Latham Street intersection on Route 215 at the bottom of the page. I think they left off a little short of that. But what the objective here is to take the area that was recently resurfaced, which included, new striping for lanes and crosswalks, et cetera, and regard that as the part of the project or the municipal project. Um, and what this diagram indicates is approximately where signage, which would look like the bikes may use full lane icon, and the sharrows would be located. And I've referenced let's see, not on this plan, but in my narrative, I've referenced the FHI's master plan, which stipulates the typical spacing of sharrows on the pavement surface at 250 feet apart. And that's referenced there as a footnote in the key. And, I've also included in the packet that you all received the relevant sections of FHI's master plan that covered these areas. Okay. They, of course, have a much larger area. They continue their sharrows and signage along 215 all the way to the intersection at Groton Long Point Road. And then they also, of course, have additional recommendations for Route 1 heading west. But we discussed at the last meeting that it would be appropriate for us to make a recommendation that covers the area that was recently resurfaced, essentially the downtown state roads. So that's what this entails. And I think it's realistic. It makes sense. I don't think it's an extraneous amount of work to achieve the objective of indicating that bicycles and vehicles need to coexist on these roads and that there's high bicycle usage on these roads. And I think it's commensurate with what Stonington would be proposing. So we have more or less an equal sharing of this project on each town's side, because their resurfacing was strictly Route 1, but it went for a longer distance to the east, almost to Mason's Island Road. It's somewhere on William Street that it leaves off. So let's open it up for discussion. I think the next step would be for this to be taken to the Transportation Authority for the town of Groton.
This is Tom Olson. I agree that everything you've got here is great. I'm just a little concerned. There's going to be a cost involved through legal stuff relative to processing and easement. Because this is all state road type of things, should we be thinking about, or at least asking the question, for efficiency, would it be better to get an easement along the entire length of Route 1 and the entire length of 215 rather than just the small sections here? In anticipation of what could happen in the future, not that, but this would be the justification and what our current intentions are along this way.
You'll have to elaborate on your use of the word easement. Because I'm not familiar
Well,
with that.
you said
as
you're going to
being-
go off and ask, you earlier mentioned in your discussion with the communications with dealing with the town of Stonington that you're putting our recommendation is the next step was go to the traffic authority and they would then go to the state to obtain an easement.
Yeah, so I think you're misusing it, or you misunderstood or misheard me. It's an encroachment permit
Encroachment
that's
permit.
needed. So
Okay.
to work within the state right of way on any kind of construction project, which this would be considered, the entity endeavoring to do the work in that right of way must submit an encroachment permit. So you're encroaching in the state's right of way, and the state will review and um, potentially approve or deny your proposal to do the work. So
Right.
that's, I think, where
Yeah, that's a different situation. Oh, we lost him again here.
Do you want to talk? Do you want to jump in and clarify the difference or?
Well, no, I heard the word easement before.
Don't we?
Yeah, I don't need an easement,
Right.
which is fine.
Right.
And I agree
You
with,
again.
yeah, I understand that. So, but I appreciate the clarification and a permitting, there's no legal mess. And so my original question was just due to the fact that you had said easement before, and I was just asking for clarification. Thank you.
well, apologies if I did say easement, I misspoke. Um, so I think the concern with asking for the entire scope of, say, Route
No, if
215.
this is just a permit, I don't need to, there's no legal stuff, no question, I withdraw the
okay.
whole thing
Oh, okay. All right.
based on your
Yeah, because
clarification.
right. Permits have
Yeah.
timelines. So
I'm
it would
not worried.
expire.
This is
Yeah.
perfect for a permit.
Okay. All right.
So
Uh,
may I?
sure. Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. The letter has not been written yet.
No.
Okay, so there's gonna be one standard letter that will be co-signed by the chair and then Daniel, for select woman Cheeseborough. Or we're gonna send one and she's gonna send one that just happens to be the same as our letter.
Well,
Or does that have to come from traffic
It goes to the
authority?
Traffic authority, so I think.
That'd be
Okay.
two.
So if we make it, so all we're gonna do then is just say, hey, traffic authority, ask them for this,
And she will do
and
it on her side.
Stonington's gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha, thank you.
right. Yeah. Parallel processes.
Do we need a
So I
motion?
guess the follow-up here would be to ask Greg if he's comfortable taking this to the traffic authority, or Greg is really not your responsibility. It would be for us to attend a traffic authority meeting and pitch this proposal to them, and then if they agree, then it would come to Public Works for you guys to prepare the permit application. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, I could bring it, but it'd probably be better if you attended
Yeah.
to explain it. Their next
Sure.
meeting is actually Thursday at 1:30 if you're available.
Oh, I'm not.
Okay.
So I'm out of town. I'm in Vermont, and
Let's see. Thursday.
Do they need to get on the agenda? Has the agenda been posted yet, Chris?
No,
Okay.
I could call Jeannie right after
Yeah.
here and put it
Yeah.
on there for
Yeah.
Thursday. I mean, I can put it on there and see what they say, and if they want, more details, then maybe the next one you could go to.
Do you want to simplify it and just ask our secretary to send the minutes along to the traffic authority people? And then if they have questions, they could reach back?
Yeah.
Would that work?
That would.
That
work.
puts
could
pressure on
possibly
you to
work.
get minutes done though.
Oh, no, it'll be done tonight.
That might be the easiest way, is just to ask Tom to send the minutes to
well, we could,
LJ
yeah.
and John.
I agree. And this could just get it on their radar. If they'd like to have more information, we could attend the next meeting, or we could provide it in time for the next meeting.
I don't know. I may be available. I don't have my whole schedule for that afternoon, but if it's 1:30 to 2 o'clock, I might be able to make it. I'll have to check. I've got an appointment at 2:15, so. Um,
Yeah, they may just approve it then and say, yes, go ahead with it. And then we can start working on plans and stuff for the,
That would be great. Tom, if you were available, I think that would be helpful.
yeah, I'll see if I can make it. It depends on how, we'll see what can be done. But I definitely will have a package available to forward. And I mean, to some degree, the traffic authority is the town manager and the chief of police, and they are already on distribution for this.
That's
package.
right. That's correct.
So I can, if you want, I can call and say, hey, it's coming on the radar
Yeah,
and watch for the minutes, and we just would hope you guys could approve this.
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking for? Is just for them to make the movement, take the action?
yeah, because they have to ultimately approve any signs and pavement markings.
Yeah.
That go, even if it's on a state road.
Right, it's probably better to contact Jeannie. She puts the agenda together.
Say the name.
Yeah.
Jeannie Kozlowski, she's the executive assistant chief.
And Tom, if you could.
Do you want me to do that, Brian?
but
Sure, that'd be great.
I can contact Jeannie as well. Just
Okay, great.
yeah, you'll have the meeting minutes probably by 6 o'clock this evening.
Okay, I'll do that.
But just so that they,
Just add it to the
Yeah.
agenda.
that's good. And then that saves you, anybody from having to.
Yeah, if I can show to answer any questions, I'll see what I can do, but I don't promise that. I don't know my schedule well enough. Down to these, it's getting tight.
Well, your minutes are good. They're
Yeah.
detailed enough.
Yeah, and I'll make sure this is all explained in there.
Great. All right. So sounds like we have a path forward. Thank you guys for stepping in for the traffic authority meeting. Okay, so we can move on now to old business. The first item is the pump track construction is scheduled for opening. I will give you all an update on the current status. So the track itself is relatively complete. The contractor finished their work a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And then Kent Frost, the designers of the track, have been inspecting it, and what they found was that there were a few areas that needed a little bit of tweaking. And in this case, tweaking means taking shovels and wheelbarrows and kind of moving some of the dirt around and just refining some of the features so that they, to use the vernacular, so that they flow. And so that meant that there was some test riding and some shoveling and some that sort of thing, and that's virtually complete. And the track itself, the construction site was surrounded by just an orange plastic construction fence up until mid last week. And while it was in that state, there was a little bit of trespass. There was at least one dirt bike that got in there, and kids probably played around on it. Did not do any damage of any consequence. And then luckily the next day after that was observed, the fence was completed. So now it's fully enclosed by a 4-foot chain link fence. It's a black vinyl coated fence, so it's very visually innocuous. It really is the perfect perimeter. And the gates have padlocks on them. So there's no access to the track until it opens unless you have the key. And one of the gates is a standard, 4-foot wide gate, and the other gate's a double gate so that maintenance vehicles, Parks and Rec can get in there to mow the grass, or if EMS needs to get in for any of their reasons, they can get in there. We've also installed an irrigation system. This was something done extra. It wasn't in the contractor's scope, but again, Ken Frost and Groton did some work and made that happen. because the track needs to be sprayed down periodically to keep it from just becoming too dusty. So that was done. The the contract for construction did not include the fence. It did not include a few of the extras, some amenities, because there just wasn't that much funding. You know, Bike Groton raised 80,000, the town contributed 80,000, and that was just enough to build what was there a couple of weeks ago. But because the track was built and visible, Bike Groton was able to commence a fundraising campaign to fill the gap, and they've been very successful. Largely, I think, because the track's a reality now, and people are confident that, oh, they're giving money to something real, and the appeal has been to fund the fence. Luckily, the local fence contractor, Luther Fence, was agreeable to installing the fence without a guarantee that, you know, we had the money to pay for it. The good news is that Bike Groton has the money. Bike Groton has raised over $15,000, actually over $17,000 at this point. So it covers the fence, and it also covers the cost of a deck that in the original plans, the start mound where you would start riding on the pump track is as large as it could possibly be to be built out of the soil that the soil blend that makes up the pump track itself. But it's relatively small. If you have a number of people there that want to ride the track, there's very little room up there for more than just a couple or three people on their bikes. So in the original plans, there was a 10 by 14-foot deck that is basically flush and attached to the start mound with a railing around it. And that was unattainable. However, a local contractor who primarily builds decks became informed about the project, was really interested in it. They're a Groton company. They are very interested in doing something that supports the community. They talked to their suppliers, and their suppliers thought this would be a great project to feature in their marketing material and et cetera, et cetera. And what has developed out of all this is that all the materials for this deck are being donated with a value of $30,000 from these various material suppliers. The local contractor has offered to construct the deck for $5,500 to cover his costs. So Bike Groton has signed a contract with the contractor to pay him for his labor, basically. And materials were ordered on Monday. And so the time lag for the materials to be delivered and the deck to be built have pushed out the opening. It was originally targeted for September 6th, Saturday, September 6th, and it had not been promoted or published in any way yet. We were still just, you know, talking about whether that was realistic or not. But this will push the opening out a couple of weeks. So the construction of the deck will start on the 15th, and it should only take a week. So we're hoping that by the last Saturday in September, that's somewhere around the 27th, I think. Yes, Saturday the 27th. That's now our new target for having the grand opening, and we'll have a much more impressive pump track by then with this deck attached to it.
Are you at liberty to say who the local, I know you mentioned Luther Fence was one of the local people, their Groton company. Who is the other local company, or do they prefer to remain anonymous?
They do not prefer to remain anonymous. They would be happy to be recognized. And I will tell you their name in 1 second.
Okay, that would be nice to include in the minutes. That way,
Yeah.
hopefully we can get people to send them a thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Or at
okay.
least mention them verbally when they're doing
The
all the proofread.
so the company is ICOR Building and Remodeling. So those are the four letters ICOR capitalized. The owner's name is Kenny Ritter, Ritter.
Sorry,
They are
sign it.
They are a local company. Their office is on Route 1 next to the Bridge Market. They're on the other side of the parking lot from the Bridge Market. So they're just around the corner from the site.
Okay, yeah, next to.
The little yellow house.
Yeah, that's Cloudchester.
Oh.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So we were just so surprised and so excited to be put in contact with them. Actually, one of my landscape architect staff is a friend of Kenny's. So it just was a word of mouth, coincidental connection that has landed this generous situation. So that's what's going on.
That's
Pretty
wonderful.
exciting. It
That's
really
wonderful.
is.
This Tom Olson, I just want to make one point of I did some research here. The traffic authority meeting for Thursday, 8/21, at 1:30 has been officially canceled on the town
Oh.
website.
Okay. Guess you're off the hook. Yeah, that's not unusual. They don't always have a schedule of business.
Yeah.
So they cancel when they don't. So we'll just have to be sure we get on the schedule for their next scheduled meeting. And hopefully then we'll be able to attend. And presumably that would be in September. I think they're normally scheduled to have monthly meetings.
No, they're normally every other month.
Oh, then
Maybe
October.
they could have a special meeting since it's like.
They can have a special meeting also.
They can have a special meeting. Okay.
But
All right. Well, we
they
can
do
request a
sometimes-
special meeting in September.
Yeah, right now, the next scheduled meeting is October 16th.
Okay.
What's the timeline? Now somebody referenced the permitting process. What's the timeline on that?
I don't know if there is a set timeline. It typically takes longer than you would like.
Let me just tell you, the bike lanes we got for Groton Long Point Road took 6 months or more. It had to go up to Newington and get reviewed up there, and it was, you would think just putting signs up and some striping for a bike lane would be simple. It'd take a week to look at it and say yes, but no, not with DOT.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect this to be done probably this fall, probably in the spring, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a
Don't get your
2026
expectations too high.
project.
Yeah.
So no
Yeah.
rush on the traffic authority.
No, so no
Yeah.
need for a special meeting.
Well, the sooner it goes to DOT, the more likely it could happen next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think by the October date, the October 16th agenda item.
Yes,
Request.
that'll be fun.
I'll put that in the
Yeah.
minute here.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, let's see, our next item. We broached the subject of automated traffic camera enforcement at the last meeting. And we talked about whether it would be appropriate for the Complete Streets Committee to initiate the discussion with the town about the eligibility and the potential locations for this sort of thing and just the logistical requirements for submitting an application, et cetera, et cetera. So I included a link to the DOT's website on automated enforcement. If you had a chance to look at it, then you're much more informed about it than you were a month ago. And if not, it's worth taking a look at. In the meantime, has there been any discussion? Is anyone aware of any development or discussion on the subject at the town? I know that the city of Groton is looking at applying for some automated enforcement.
The only update I have is that I've been kind of watching in the newspaper, and the town of Old Lyme is now going to public hearing and stuff on it. But that's the only other information I had received, and I've not been able to gain any other insight relative to this city.
Well, it's ultimately up to the traffic authority to submit the application, I believe. Greg, do you have any opinion on that? Does that seem like the right pathway for something like
Yeah,
this?
it may require the town council to act on it too. I'm not sure, but I know in talking to the police chief, he's kind of like on a wait and see approach to this thing. I think he's cautious about doing this, so I think he's waiting for other towns to implement it and see if there's any pitfalls and what things we might learn to avoid doing.
Sure, makes
So-
sense. Okay, well, I don't know if, since we are going to be presenting our proposal for the Sharrows in downtown, whether we should also include this on our appearance before the traffic authority to perhaps to tell the authority that our committee has an opinion on this. We really haven't decided whether we are making a recommendation for automated enforcement. We've just talked about it as a theoretical subject.
One thing from the article that was in today's newspaper, that what Old Lyme is doing, and there's literally a little bit smaller town than us, but they went out and hired this company or consultant, or actually a company that handles the whole package for you. It's ALUTINE. They're down in Maryland, in Latham, Maryland, and they came in. They contacted them, I guess, put them under some type of exploratory contract. They came into the town and says they looked at they did a quick analysis of these various locations in the town, came up with the 2 sites that meet the state of Connecticut criteria, because there's a lot of things that go into selection of which areas are. And then they actually supported and made a presentation to the essentially the town council, as far as on the way they're handling it over there. So obviously there's money involved in going down that path that the police authority normally would be, as far as their safety analysis. But I don't know, did FHI give us any data as far as saying these are the areas that on town roads? Because obviously I don't think we're going to be able to put these things up on a state highway unless we have a lot of good data already that's available through the state information. So that's one of the things that we could be taking a look at here is from a strategy perspective. Is this an FY 27 CIP type of thing to go hire the consultants to come in here to do additional data surveys and this type of stuff? And I think then I would turn to who's the responsible area? Is this a planning thing? Is it a public works thing? Is it a police department thing? Who's the right belly button to take the lead on this activity? Because the raw data that you need to get approval from the state to be able to do this it all deals with safety and having that traffic. You're trying to, because that's really what the money that you get from this is supposed to roll back into that fund to improve things. So I think we have to take a look at it. Maybe we need to do a little bit more thinking about this before we get too far along here, rather than just dumping it on somebody. But through the budget process is really, I think, because if you're going to go out and hire these guys, it sounded like that they actually come into the town and review the records and then come up with recommendations. They said, well, you need to have, like in Old Lyme, there's 2 different locations and stuff. So I can include that article. It kind of outlined, it's a fairly short, very concise article in today's paper that kind of outlined what they did and also provides the company. And I did look at their website and stuff, and it's amazing what they do is they have this real-time stuff and put it in the highway. It shows you the guy's license plate number and how fast he's going and whether they stop in the lights and stuff. So it's all real time. and it just pings the guys right there. You could be watching these folks. It was kind of scary almost.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, Patrice.
So lots of stuff was popping into my head as Tom was speaking. FHI gave us maps that show, I can't remember the terminology they use, like where all the accidents were.
Yeah.
Hotspots.
Hotspots, right?
right.
So I would say, because that's relatively fresh, I wouldn't hire another consultant. I mean, I would say, make sure that's brought to the attention of the powers that be. And again, Tom said, is it planning? Is it public works? Is it, you know, public safety,
Safe.
right? Is it gonna be a triad, right? A three-headed dog or whatever. So make sure that that is brought to their attention and say, look, we already have this, so I don't think you need to hire another consultant for that. But then I think it comes down to, this is really a policy issue. Like, does the town really want to go there and be doing this? I mean, we have a lot of cameras already, from what I understand. There's a lot of cameras in town, and they may want to decide if we want even more cameras. And I think that falls outside of our purview. I think that's a town council policy issue. And I don't know where the council is at this point, if that's something that they want to do or they don't want to do. And again, I don't know if this is something, you know, on consultation with town staff, if that's where the chief wants to go. And it sounded like, from what Mr. Hanover said, there's some wait and see attitude, right? So I would say, if this committee feels the need to do anything, I would say make sure that those hotspot maps are in the hands of the appropriate people, and let them do the decision making on this at this point. I don't really think that we as a committee should be doing anything else on that, but I'm one voice, so thank you.
Well, I am in partial agreement with Patrice. At last month's meeting, you know, the debate was whether we were the appropriate entity to bring this forward, or was it a different entity or a combination of entities or public participation that should bring this forward. So I think just biding the time and allowing our police chief to evaluate the pros and cons and the experience of you know, of communities, you know, maybe perhaps within our region, because there does appear to be movement towards this in nearby towns, to let that play out and get a sense of what how it's working. So I'm in agreement with Patrice that it is outside of our purview at this time, and that we should be patient and wait for it to develop on its own a little bit more.
What I can do here is I can ensure that the FHI reports is available to us. I can exercise those portions that would be applicable and include those in the minutes here for today. Says here.
That would be great.
And then extract that in, put it, just like I, did last month. I put some extra stuff in there.
Sure.
And I can attach those into the minutes so that they're readily available for the police chief to review.
That would be great.
Based on our focus as far as on what we were talking about here. So I'll extract those and include those in the minutes.
And then I noticed on the link that you included, Brian, there was a page for like almost like a worksheet for self-certification, where they can walk through. And at that point, then if they start that and they see they need other stuff, then we could step in and maybe we have something in our records that, we could say like, here, try this and see if this fits your needs or whatever it is. But I think that's like how we should limit ourselves at this point.
All right. So I think we've covered that issue. The next item on the agenda is for Greg to tell us about town projects that he's involved with and other things that may be in the works.
Let's see, for the paving project, so I think I said last time we finished Industrial Drive, the paving on that, so we're gonna be. I was talking to Mark Berry, we're actually gonna paint some bike lanes on there from the end of, the trail comes out of the end of Knoxville Court, which is the end of the GNR trolley trail to the pump track at Depot Road. We're gonna put some bike lanes along Industrial Drive there. Shoeville Road repaving is actually starting tomorrow. That'll take probably a couple of weeks to get that finished. And then later this fall, they'll be doing Godfrey Road and Mystic. And then we have a contractor doing Colonel Richard Highway after Labor Day. So those are the paving projects we have going on. The sidewalk, the Route 1 sidewalk up at Kings Highway Bridge Street, the contractor's starting that after Labor Day. Yeah, I think that's it. Other projects, are just, got some planning projects maybe in the works. Like some work with DOT. We asked DOT to look at a potential roundabout at Route 117, 184, but that'll be years away. And then also some, the rapid flashing beacons at some mid-block crosswalks. I think I mentioned on Route 1 at Virginia's Court and then at Elm Street and High Street. So DOT is looking at that.
Great. Do you have any information or any updates on DOT's proposal for the roundabouts at exit 89?
They presented it to the council. The council was on board with it. They, were in agreement, so they're going forward with that. I don't recall what the construction, probably like 2027, I want to say.
Okay.
There'll be, 3 roundabouts. There'll be one at each entrance exit ramp off 95 at exit 89, and then also one at Sandy Hollow Road. So it's immediately adjacent to that. And there'll be, as part of that proposal, DOT would be putting a sidewalk throughout the whole construction and actually extending it up so that you would be able to walk from, is it Ledgeland Drive that comes out there on
Oh, yeah.
by Cow Hill
Sounds
Road?
right.
You'd
At
walk
Cow
all,
Hill.
you could have, there'd be a continuous sidewalk all the way to
Yeah.
the sidewalk network on Allen Street. Through, over the overpasses on 95 and all the way past Sandy Hollow Road.
So that would make would that complete the sidewalk on Allen Street all the way to Route 1? I know there
Yeah.
have been some gaps. They've been mostly filled, but I think that last section closest to Sandy Hollow is incomplete. So this would complete it, sounds like.
Correct.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's really good. It's some time away, but still it's much needed improvement.
If I remember, I said that from the way the state said that they're at that 30% planning stage, and when they get up to like over 50 or something, they're going to have a public hearing and
Yeah, there'll be a public information meeting hearing.
Yeah.
still to come.
Greg, have you heard anything while we're talking about DOT projects as far as a schedule for the Amtrak Bridge project on Groton Long Point Road?
Yeah, that one, they're actually, we had a meeting with DOT this week on the other bridge over Palmer's Cove. Because of the permitting process in that one, they're actually pushing that one construction out another year to 27. So there'll be a slight overlap. So the Amtrak one is projected to start next year in 26. So that'll be 26 and 27. And then the bridge over Palmer's Cove would be 27 and 28 construction seasons.
And there will be, go ahead.
No, they're still looking at having two-way traffic during the summer months because of the amount of traffic going to Groton Long Point, and then during the construction, in the off-season, which will be alternating one-way traffic controlled by a light, for both bridges.
And there will be a continuous sidewalk through
Yes,
through both
yes.
projects. correct?
Yep, yep, and the
That's-
sidewalk will go all the way from on the north side of Groton Long Point Road from East Shore Avenue all the way up to I think it's Mohegan or one of the, up north of the Amtrak Bridge.
Yeah, the Tanglewood subdivision.
Tanglewood subdivision up to that area, yes. Thank you, Tom.
And now I believe from what I recall from the first public information meeting on the Amtrak Bridge that the shoulder bike lanes will continue over the Amtrak Bridge. What about the Palmer Cove Bridge? Will there be enough shoulder to stripe a bike lane, or does it
Yeah.
narrow at that point?
No, there'll be 5-foot bike lanes in both directions.
Great.
For that, the whole length of that project.
Great. Okay, that's good news. Now, most of you have, or perhaps some of you have seen the culvert repair project down on Route 215 approaching Noank. And that is now there's it's a one way. There's actually a temporary signal that's been installed there to allow one way alternating traffic. The end result of that project is to widen the roadway to include a 5-foot shoulder and sidewalks on both sides within that work zone. So it's a small segment of Route 215, but it's a start. So we'll leave it at that. And now I will also point out while we're on 215 that the FHI study recommends sharrows for the entire length of Route 215 through Noank, through the section that passes the Mystic Market all the way into downtown Mystic. Now, whether a cyclist would really feel comfortable riding in the traffic lane in that section of roadway is up for debate, because the posted speed limit is 35. But I suspect that the 85th percentile measured speed is higher than that. So we have roads in our area. The one that comes to mind right now is Route 1 in Pawcatuck with a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit. Perhaps in some areas it's 30 miles per hour, and sharrows. And so it has been done on a DOT roadway. So it's just something for us to keep on our radar. It would be an implementation of the FHI's recommendations, and it's one of the simplest and least expensive measures that can be taken to improve bicycle mobility, if you consider that an improvement. So just something to keep in mind as we move forward. All right, those are all the projects that I can think of. Oh, here's one that does impact Groton, maybe not so much bicycle and pedestrian immediately, but that is that the Gold Star Bridge project, the renovation of the northbound span, begins in 2026. And I understand that it's going to severely impact, if nothing else, truck traffic is going to be changed and rerouted so that trucks are not allowed to cross the bridge any longer while this project is under construction. Whether that forces any traffic into the local streets or not, I don't know. I mean, they can't cross, if they can't cross the bridge, the trucks have to go north to bridges north of us. But I'm curious, Greg, have you heard anything from DOT about their plans in any of these changes in traffic patterns, et cetera, for that project?
I wasn't aware they're eliminating truck traffic. That's the first I've heard of that.
Really? Well, I read this and I don't remember this source. It might have been a DOT source, but I think it's the only way, from what I read, to prevent just horrendous backups, because all traffic is going to be pushed onto what is now the southbound bridge, while the northbound bridge is being worked on. So
I
it
think-
constrains those lanes.
Well,
It's the way-
the northbound, they're gonna still have local traffic will be able to use it. They're gonna divide the traffic, so to speak. So
Oh,
the northbound, they're gonna have a Jersey barrier and they'll narrow it down from whatever it is, 6 to like, say, 3 or 4 southbound, but then there'll be 2 northbound lanes. And then there'll also be a couple local lanes on the existing northbound bridge that they're gonna kind of move around during the 2 or 3 years that it's taken to do this. So they're gonna have to construct like a in the median, some type of a crossover, paved crossover. That was the plan that I saw like 6 months ago, but they didn't mention anything about limiting truck traffic.
Here it is. I'm looking, I got their website up and their flyer about the thing. It's really, it says there's permitted vehicles access. Okay, so those are oversized vehicles, that type of stuff. That bridge low capacity prevents permit vehicle crossings, causing a detour approximately 17 miles to those road users. So that's the large, I dealt with a lot of this, of the big components coming into electric boat and stuff over the years. They would normally be stuck using that bridge because they have to, they're getting escorted. They've got the, car behind them, that type of stuff with all the extra notifications. Those are the kind of vehicles that are not going to be allotted.
Yeah, it's
It's the
okay.
oversized permitted
Standard
vehicles. Standard trucks are
Oh.
okay. So it's really infrequent. Most
Thank
of these
you.
guys do this at night in the first place, just to minimize the harassment that they cause. And it depends on how much the permit, because sometimes permits say they only can go from, 11 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning or something too.
Okay, thanks for that
It's all
clarification.
permit, but anything with a permit is not going to be allowed because of the weight constraints.
Okay, great.
So
All
there
right.
is true about trucks, but it's not all trucks. It's just permitted trucks.
So you're gonna shoot them
Okay.
on little tiny
$32.
roads and.
Well, but in that case, there's less traffic there, but they get the whole bridge. So they'll just shut the bridge down for that one passing and stuff. So,
All right. Well, that's
Yeah, it'll
good
impact traffic
information.
on here for a while.
yeah.
Whatever they do.
Right. And then, of course, the pathway on the southbound bridge, which is the North Bridge, will be enlarged.
Yep.
And it will ultimately be, I believe, a 10-foot wide two-way bicycle and pedestrian pathway. It will be the very last piece of the project, and they're saying it will take at least a year to construct. I think it's longer than that. And during which time there will be no bike or pedestrian access over the bridge, is how I understand it. You'll have to hop on the shuttle. They'll be running that bus shuttle like they did previously. And so that, I think, is scheduled for completion in 2029. So we have a ways to go before we see that. All right, we've come to the end of the agenda. Do we have any new information, or anyone have any current fares that they'd like to mention before we sign off? Hearing none. Our
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you all for coming. I want to just mention that our next meeting, our September meeting, is scheduled for the 17th, Wednesday, the 17th. Look forward to seeing everyone then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Right.